So here's our tier list: broken, strong, average, situational, and poop tier. You have notes: broken, top picked or banned almost every game. Those are the ones that are just top tier right now. Strong, consistent, solid picks that are occasionally banned, usually picked. Average are gods that are viable in almost every comp, but they're not like your core gods. They're not the most important gods. They still can be playmakers. They can still carry games. That's not what we're saying. Situational god or tier is filler gods to play into matchups, play into roles, usually drafted later in your picks and pans. And then poop tier, gods that are just not good. They're always bad. Doesn't mean you can't play them and win a game, but they're still bad picks. Just because you win on a god, bronze tier, doesn't mean the god's good. It just means it worked for you that game. It is not a consistent good god. Is it a bad god? We gotta name the tier list. Atlas patch. Tier list time. Achilles in the solo lane. Strong. His presence has been made or known. Is now known. He's getting played almost every game. Probably has, like, for me and the games I played, next to the highest win rate with like Camazotz and Kali. I feel like those two in the jungle and Achilles in the solo almost guaranteed equals dub. Literally just at that point. They buffed something on him, right? Did they buff his 3 again, or they buff his 2? They buffed something on him, and then it's just items overall are kind of clapping. I also think people kind of put him on the back burner for no reason through all the changes. Oh, they buffed the 3? Yeah, okay. I think they put the 3 back to where it was, because they keep, that's the ability they change on him over and over again. He's popping. I would play him in the solo lane every game because he doesn't get banned usually. I ban him because I don't want to play against him, but he usually doesn't get banned. And like Odin and the other top solos do get banned. Agni actually performing a lot better. Before, with this tier list, and I want to try to stick with this tier list, I probably would have put Agni in situational. They buffed Agni, added damage to the 1. They also changed the builds, so there's a lot of ways for you to get good power early on Agni and not needing to stack CDR. Working really well. Problem with Agni is getting to level 5. Your early clear is super risky because you have to dash to clear and control the wave, and it's just risky. It is very, very risky. AMC next on the list. AMC's also just got like massive buffs. I wouldn't put AMC in strong because your positioning is way too important. And positioning is very, very hard for your casual and ranked games. All the time. You don't know what your teammates are doing. The communication isn't really there. Your team isn't backing you up. You don't really have peel. So AMC will remain an average god. He's way better. Definitely playable. I've put out a bunch of videos of playing him lately. Super fun, but definitely in the average tier. Apwash. I kind of want to say situational, because if you go a tanky Book of the Dead build and play against a healer, I get why you're playing it. If they're stacking healing, they have Sylvanas, they have Hell, they have Afro. I get why you're playing. I kind of want to put him in the poop tier, but I won't do that because I think he's playable. I don't think he's actual garbage. I just think he's so difficult to not get bodied on because you don't do enough quick instant damage. It takes a lot of farm, and you have to go to the shitty book build. And you not only do you go the Book of the Dead build, you have to go out with breastplate. You need to be tanky, and then if they ignore you, you feel kind of dumb because you don't have the best stats for just free casting as a mage. Amaterasu, very situational right now. Terrible in the jungle. Super average in the solo lane. Doesn't have a ton of good matchups. Really doesn't have many at all. Gets bodied by most of the top solo laners. Honor, still a very good hunter. I want to put Honor in the strong tier. Honor is very easy for you to play and is also a very good hunter for your casuals and your ranked. You have good mobility. You've got the CC immune ult, which is kind of a huge crutch that you should rely on as a player, especially if you're bad with your actives. That ult is what will get you out of jail all the time. Super aggression, which a lot of the time in your games, you'll just be fighting over and over and over again. Honor is one of the best fighting hunters you could play. So Honor is going to be a strong pick and something you should really be playing into more matchups. It's not a high skill god. Yes, hitting the combos with the 1 and the 2 can be difficult, but you don't have to do that. Play around your support, let him set you up, hit your 2, ult, they're dead. Anubis. All right. I can't put Anubis in a situational because you don't control the situation. Anubis is poop. I'm sorry. I said it. Anubis is poop. And that just is what it is. Everyone builds anti-heal. Divine just got massive buffed. So anyone who sees an Anubis and doesn't build a Divine in the mage role, or if they're magic anywhere, they're potatoes. And you beating potatoes with a poop build doesn't make it, or a poop god doesn't make the god better. It makes the players poop as well. You will not heal. You will not sustain. You have no mobility still. You'll be locked down by every god in the game. And there are so many gods that are meta that just dumpster you, make you worthless. Just tons of them. Every soul laner is going to one clap you. Every jungler is going to one clap you. Every mage is going to one clap you because you'll be standing still. And then you've got gods that are meta like Kepri, who's going to fully counter your ult. Good luck. Have fun. I wouldn't play it. Ao Kuang, I think, is one of the more underrated junglers right now, especially for ranked and casuals. Like, notice, I want a big emphasis for you to think your casuals and your ranked games. I mean, I just played a bronze to masters, 48 games on controller. 100% these things apply. Ao Kuang wins games and is a very good magic jungler. Very, very good. You can go the auto attack builds. You can go a hybrid of like full damage into auto attack. Kuang is underrated. Definitely recommend playing him. Not much holding him back. I'm going to be honest. There isn't much that makes him bad right now. You farm perfectly fine. There isn't a ton of pressure, and you do not have to fight in the mid lane as long as your mid is on the same page as you. So as long as you're doing that, you're fine. We got Aphrodite. Aphrodite is actually pretty decent right now, too. I put Aphrodite in the mid lane, similar to Agni. I would not play Aphrodite in any other role. Please. Please don't play Afro in other roles like support. It's bad. It is not a meta. It's not a move. You're not doing something cool. You're not going to win your team the game. Just play it mid, farm, go a mage build, do a lot of damage with your back offs, heal your teammates up, keep them alive, position well, you'll be fine. You play for the mid to late game. You do not play for the early game. Apollo, I put Apollo in average. He's okay. He's like semi-safe. And if you're spamming that ult and ganking mid lane, every fight is happening in the mid lane. I don't know, like for you guys, right? You guys are seeing fights in the mid lane every 3 seconds? That's not just me. Because as long as it's happening for you in your games, Apollo is going to control all of that. Because for me, every game, every fight happens right in the mid lane. Not even on the side, not on mid camps. It happens in the mid lane. Anytime you see your team about to clash in the mid lane on Apollo, ult to the lane. Every time you will get a lead. You will be huge. And the other ADC will never rotate. You will win the game for your team. Now, if you're not doing that, and you're just fighting in lane, you're probably worthless. It's like the complete flip side. You're just not worth the time. So please, if you play Apollo, do that. Solid pickup, nothing special right now, to be honest. He's nothing special. Now Arachne's a hard one to place. Like a really, really hard one to place. Arachne has a super high win rate. It's one of those auto attack gods. It's very easy to play. But I don't feel like Arachne is strong. And I don't know if that's me. I don't know if you guys feel the same thing. I'm going to put Arachne in the average tier, but when the god has such a high win rate, bro, you have to at least process it. It's a noob stomper. It is, because W key gods, noobs run away and get auto attack down. Higher levels, it definitely falls off. If you're a low level player, gods like Arachne, very, very good. Something for you to play. Last season, she was goated. It's the builds, too. Right now, there are a lot of very good items for Arachne. Like Crusher is a good item. The tier 2 Oboe Rush or like second item is really strong. You've got Serrated being very good, Kins being very good. There's a lot of options. There's a lot of builds. Ares. I think Ares is one of the better Guardians right now. Now, it requires, for him to be strong, you need to be able to hit your chains. If for some reason you suck and you can't hit abilities, Ares not for you. That's fine. Go practice it in jungle practice or something a bunch. If you're hitting your chains, I think Ares is just very, very strong. Kind of like Arachne and Kali, but for the support role, where you just walk at people and you hit your chains and they don't know what to do. They literally don't know what to do. People freak out. I think Ares is probably the best aggressive support as long as you mechanically can play the god. We've got Fardamis. Fardamis is poop. I'm sorry. I don't think Fardamis is situational. I think Fardamis is poop. If I see you in the duo lane, I'm farming you. Like as a jungler, I'm going to focus you. You've got no mobility. Your ultimate doesn't do enough damage. It doesn't set you up for anything. The other hunters are drastically more valuable. They can poke you out super easily. They can fight you. They can outclear you. They can do everything you can't. And then like just think about the matchups. Think about Artemis and Honor. You're done, so if that Honor's not a potato. Your ult's not gonna do anything. Honor's gonna ult your ult, you're gonna die every time. Artemis into Cryptus. Just 3 it every time. Or ult it and run away. Whatever you want to do. You're never gonna do anything to them. Like these top hunters just absolutely dumpster Artemis. Then the supports also dumpster Artemis. Artemis is literally physical Freya. Similar. But I mean, like, even the supports, like a Cerberus is going to farm an Artemis. Even a Kepri is going to do well in an Artemis. A Geb is going to do well into an Artemis. They're all going to make it very hard to play Artemis. Nearly impossible. What a Bongzilla. Hey, we're on Smite Source right now. Thank you, man. Thank you for the resub. Artio. I still think Artio is broken tier. I think Artio is insanely easy to play. You do not have to be a good mechanical player. This is for solo. Support, it's very good. I wouldn't put it broken for support. Artio is banned in every single game I've played. Like, literally every single game. Artio counters way too many gods in this game. It is the magical King Arthur. When King Arthur was top tier, Artio just filled that slot. Wins almost every matchup in lane. Is insanely hard to gank. Has insane initiation. Has consistent ability and damage. Has sustain. Does it all. And like I said, counters so many gods in the game. Like everything. You can interrupt abilities. You can cripple people. You can root them. You can do everything. You do literally everything. You slow them. You do everything. You shred a protection. You do everything. It's actually just ridiculous. I hate, like, we've gotten away. We haven't had many gods where we're like, why do they have so many crazy abilities? And we forget, like, Artio's been in the game for so long with all of those abilities in the kit. A stun, a root, a slow, a cripple, a heal, good damage, protection shred. Like everything that could possibly be in the game is just thrown onto this support god that gets played in the solo lane. Athena, I think Athena is a really good pick right now. Just very easy to play. I don't think she's broken because she still has really long cooldowns on her taunt. And most people kind of overestimate what you need to do on Athena, where really all you need to do is walk up and taunt people. Like that's your job. If you're doing that, you're doing your job. That's why I say it's very easy to play. And if you suck at rotating, you just ult in every fight. You just have to have awareness. I think if you're a support player and you don't know what you're doing, or you're new to the role, or you don't play it and you got to play it that single game, you play Geber Athena every time. Every time. Once you hit mid to late game, you stop dashing to taunt because you will die. You just walk up and taunt. You go shell, you go sunder because you can taunt and sunder them and they just fall over. And you're literally playing the game for your team. They don't have to have any skill to follow up off your taunt. What up, Dom? Thank you for the 19 months. A Wheelix. I'm going to put a Wheelix in the average pick. I think she's borderline underrated. She takes a large amount of skill to do what you need to do because you need to use your 2 properly. Most people don't realize that you can like double auto and wait a second and then 2 and use it to avoid abilities or use it waiting for a cooldown to come back up on it or something like that. Like, you can do those things. Once you kind of get the ins and outs of the god, you perform way better. She counters a lot of picks being played overall. She plays well with a lot of picks in the game. There's a lot of knockup gods that just naturally get picked. So I think Wheelix is really good. I think she's super aggressive and really good for your lower end casuals and ranked. Those are the games you just kind of pump stomp, and she will pump stomp those matches. Who is this ugly fuck? Baba Doodoo? Baba Doodoo is way more situational than I've really let on for a long time. Like really, really way more situational. She's not very good. Way too easy to dive. People overestimate the value of stacking early. Like, oh, I get to stack early. It's super OP. It's not. It's really not. You need CDR on her to spam her abilities. You have to be using your 2 properly and storing them. You need to be poking a lot. And realistically, your ultimate is extremely overvalued. Like that ultimate should do way more damage. If you get a lead, it slaps. If you don't have a lead, if you're even with everyone else in the game, you just don't do enough damage. You really don't. What up, IB slanging? Bacchus. I'd say Bacchus is a situational support. If you're going for like heavy aggression, or say you play into a game and you have 2 guardians as your only magic damage, you're on double hunter or something, that's where Bacchus shines, where you have initiation or good peel and you pump out good damage that you need. Because like if you have a solo guardian and then your other magic damage is just a support guardian, that's not enough magic damage. But if it's a Bacchus with 1 late game damage item, it's enough damage. It's more than enough damage. Where would you guys put Bacchus right now? Or not Bacchus, sorry. Bacchusura. Because for me, I think Bacchusura is bad. Like really bad. But under the idea that people run these auto attack W key builds in lower end games, you guys are all saying poop. 1 situational in there. with the overall scheme of the game and every rank considered, poop tier. Bronze, silver, maybe gold, situational, because you will be able to walk at people. It'll happen. I know what's gonna happen. This is gonna go on YouTube, and the Bakasura main is gonna fucking lose his mind. He's going to just explode. He's gonna be like, I win 98% of my matches. I am insane. You're an idiot, Weekend. Your chat's dumb. Like, I guarantee it. I guarantee it. They tried buffing him. They gave him like another second of CC immunity on his ult, or like another half a second. No. The only way Baka becomes super strong is if that entire ult period is CC immune. If they did that, then I think Baka would be very good. You got to be last in with Baka. You would like to be last in or have made all the abilities down. Baron, I'm going to put Baron Smeddy in situational. I would not play Baron in any role other than mid. I think it works. I don't think it's terrible. But I think you get punished way too easily by every mage in the game. All the good mages will run your shit. Anyone who knows how to play against the Baron is not going to get outplayed by you. Anyone who builds anti-heal is going to make your 2 kind of worthless. I agree with that. He has no range, which really hurts him. You have to walk up into the wave to make sure you have pressure. You need to consistently be spamming your 3 into your combos to poke people because you're not 100 to 0ing anybody. And then your ultimate, I think the ultimate's good. But I think it's more of a disruption, and you don't do enough. Like on a mage, you don't want a disruption ult that's just kind of there being annoying. You want an ult that does big damage and is a massive threat. Where would I put Atlas on this list? Oh, that's right. Atlas won't be here because he's not in the game yet. I think Atlas is, as a support, is going to be very, very strong. I do not think he's fun to play overall. Maybe from a support's point of view, it is. But for someone who likes to play like a junglers and fast pace and lots of damage, I don't think he's fun to play. I'd probably put him in strong for like on the launch and see how the pro players and everybody like high end supports do with him and see if he goes down to average or goes up to broken. Bastet is, I was on the fence. I played her on PTS. We knew she was good. I wasn't like on the fence. I was on the fence on the ult. I wasn't sure how I felt about it. Because she feels different. I don't know if it was better. I don't know if it was worse. Just felt different. She's better. She's way better. If you build Soul Eater, you go normal build like Crusher or Jotuns in a Soul Eater, the amount of damage and sustain you have and how quickly your abilities do their damage now is ridiculous. Her ult is cracked, and someone mentioned it in my comments. They were like, I feel like the ult's so good because it's silent. Like, I'm in a team fight and I get hit by it, and sometimes I don't realize it. And I'm aware, I know what's happening. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm like walking away in a Bassetto in the middle of a team fight. So I don't know if that's it. I don't know if it's just the overall kit because it's a lot of damage and a lot of sustain and short cooldowns paired with this ult that can be played in multiple ways. But I think that might be a big factor. And if they add a sound to it, my opinion might change. My opinion, like, really might change because it super catches you off guard. I'll get stunned in a team fight and not even realize it. Like, I'm fighting a jungler in a solo, and all of a sudden I'm stunned. I'm like, oh yeah, Basset's ult stuns at point blank range, and it drops the thing on the ground if you get pulled. Like that thing, the little what's that called? This little sand shit is so annoying. So Basset's broken. She's gonna be banned or picked every game. If she's not, you guys are trolling. You're absolutely trolling. Bellona's situational. You can play Bellona. I don't think she's very good. You'll have some okay matchups in like Osiris and stuff in the solo lane. And even in the jungle, she can be played. And you might have some okay matchups, but she's not good. There's no build that makes her good. There's no matchup that she like heavily is favored in. I don't think Bellona's poop. I think Bellona's still a good frontline god. Still do a lot of damage. Can still solo people with a full tank build. Still has good initiation. I think some people underrate her a little bit. Like you saying she's poop. She's definitely not poop. She's not going to just lose you the game by getting picked. It's not going to happen. She's getting buff next patch. Pretty mad. Yeah. I mean, the buffs aren't the problem. I don't think her item, maybe if they give her more, like way more sustain on her 3. Because they're hitting her 3, I think. Her early game damage on the 3, so we can actually clear. The biggest thing for her is the builds, man. Like Bellona and Osiris and those gods come into play when the soul lane auto attack meta is heavily favored. It's not. It is not at all. Kabrakan, situational. I think Kabrakan's a good jungler. I think Bracken can be played in solo, but is lower on the situational tier list. And then support, I think he's okay, but another situational because you're going for early kills. You don't get early kills, you're kind of worthless. In the jungle, the one-shot build will come online almost no matter what, but you'll get outplayed and outperformed by every assassin in the game. All of them are better. That is why you're situational. Camazotz. I don't think Camazotz is broken at all ranks. If this was a Masters, Grandmasters tier list, Camazotz would be broken. Period. I have not seen a Camazotz lose a rank game at high end. We've also seen Camazotz win almost every SPL game that Camazotz has been played in. At lower end ranks, people really struggle at playing Camazotz. I have no idea why. I played him on controller and it felt really easy and really good to play. I don't know what it is, but he is strong. Like, even in a combination of everything, he's a very strong god with insane damage. And the fact that they made it so you ult quicker, so you don't die as much while ulting, very valuable. Also has a lot of good matchups, and your dive potential just outperforms most assassins. Cerberus is average. I would play Cerberus as a support. Solo lane works. Cerberus as a support, though, is a really aggressive, annoying support that has a lot of fairly good matchups that you just out pressure. Pair Cerberus with a clearing hunter, and you just kind of walk at them. Catches people off guard early, gets early kills all the time. CERN is poop. CERN has been poop. CERN probably will always be poop. I think the only way they make CERN good is if they rework one or two of his abilities. Probably as one, and either as two or as alt. Or they fully rework him into a ranged jungler. I don't think it's going to happen. That's the dream. He loses pretty much every matchup in terms of hunter matchups. He's not going to win any lanes. Not going to be better in any team fights. He's basically, it's not even fair. I can't compare him and Artemis. They're both equally worthless in their own ways. Chalk, situational. Problem with Chalk is late game you fall off. You build full damage, you fall off. You build full defense, you fall off. You just don't do enough. You'll still die really quick. So you have to win a game in the mid game, which means you're playing for the mid game, which is a hard thing to force, which is why he's situational. Chunga, situational. All your range is way too short. You're too close range to be consistently relevant as a mage in this meta. You take way too much damage and anti-O is too good. Cribdis, one of the stronger hunters, probably has the best ability in the game in her 3, because it's the safest ability in the game that we've seen ever. It's cracked. Her 2 is also ridiculously good and broken. She has great clear early, and then she has her ultimate, which when you understand what the ultimate can do, very valuable. If you're trying to use it for damage, you probably suck dick at Cribdis. Period. Chernobog, average, because you have a global ult. You can do that mid lane fighting the same way Apollo does. Your laning phase isn't too bad. Your actual fight in lane usually doesn't go like too heavily in your favor. You don't just win your fights all the time, but you're also pretty safe from ganks 2-3. I think Chiron is one of those hunters that got peaked real fast and then everyone forgot about, but is still actually really good. I don't have any problems with Chiron. I don't have anything that makes him super strong, but I also don't have any reason to put him in situational. He's decently safe with his ult. Does a lot of ability damage with the builds that are out. You got Jotuns, you've got Crusher. Even with Death Toll, your sustain's good, plus you get a lot of power out of it. I think Chiron is a very good hunter to play and an easy hunter to play overall, as long as you realize you're an ability hunter. You love Chalk. Chalk is a lovely man. You know the god's bad when Chalk is in a higher tier list. That's true. I mean, I've played with a lot of Chalks lately. They're all pretty worthless, but they're not this worthless. Kronos, average. Just nothing really making him great. If I play Kronos, I'm probably going full ability build. He just doesn't compete with the other mages. His damage isn't as consistent. His positioning is really hard to force. His ultimate is good, but you'll die. Most of the time you die before you get your ult off. Every assassin can kill you before you get your ult off. Every mage can kill you before you get your ult off, and it's kind of hard to play around. Kleena. I don't think Kleena is the best assassin in the game because we have bad sets. But Kleena is insanely strong still. Anyone telling you Kleena's bad doesn't understand Smite and can't play Kleena for shit. She is doing way too much damage still. I was playing Kleena jungle and I blinked on a Scylla in mid lane at level 2 and I autoed one and then autoed twice and then still it died. No one else hit her. So if you're wondering if she does damage, she does. Her ultimate can still one-shot late game. Nothing's changed. I go Bumba's Hammer, and I think that's kind of core for her because you can spam and just keep W King. As soon as you hit your 2, everyone freaks out anyway. So it's kind of like an ability version of an auto attack god. Played the same style in the late game. She's great. Why doesn't Kalina get played in the SPL? Well, the SPL isn't going on right now. There is play-in starting, I think, in a week. So we'll see if she gets played then. I mean, she's been banned. I don't think you need to be great to play Kalina, but I think you need to understand the god, if that makes sense. Like, if you pick up Kalina your first game, you might not have a good game, but you play it 4 or 5 games, you'll probably start playing great. She just does way too much damage. It's crazy how much damage she does. Cthulhu. I think Cthulhu is actually a solid pickup for solo lane in your lower end casual and rank games. It's just easy to play. It's super easy to clear the lanes. It's very easy to be safe. It's easy to run away with your ultimate. If you're building tanky like you should be in the solo lane and people start targeting you, you don't care. And you can build thorns on him still and just walk at people. They will literally int off of you. I've seen it happen many times. Cullen, another average pick. I actually think he's a really good warrior still. It's just there's so many great warriors. There's so many really strong warriors or broken warriors that it kind of overshadows Cullen. Still think he's a good pick. You have to manage your rage properly. You have to be able to use those switches properly. If you do that, you're in a fine, really good spot. Cupid. Man, remember when Cupid was good? It was the beginning of this year, right? Like Cupid was like the hunter to play. I was playing him in the jungle, if I remember correctly, and he was popping. That man is down in the poop tier under Pooped. Every hunter claps his cheeks, bro. Every god being played right now doesn't give any care in the world about a Cupid ult. Easiest god in the world to stick to. Cupid just ain't it anymore, boys. Like, I wouldn't even put him situational. I don't see any there. Like, if you look at the hunters, when are you playing Cupid? Who are you playing Cupid into? Yeah. Look. All right, we'll take the 3 worst hunters I have down here right now, right? We have Artemis, CERN, and Cupid. Artemis counters Cupid. Cupid can play well in the CERN. CERN gets clapped by both of them. They all still suck. Dude, Cupid doesn't even counter Rama. Rama ults and wins the matchup as soon as he lands. Ul beads and leaps on the Cupid and wins the matchup. A Cupid is never killing an Ul that leaps on top of him. It's never happening. Never, ever happening. There's no disagree. Nobody plays Cupid right now because Cupid is dog. This is not an opinion. This is an actual way the matchups go. And if you want to do the reverse, right? All right, so someone said Ul. In lane, you clear the creeps, right? Cupid uses his 1. Ul uses his 1, right? Lane's clear. You're looking at each other. Ul's going to poke him with his 3. Cupid's going to drop his hearts. Ul's going to walk up and throw an axe and one him. And the Cupid is probably going to beads and freak out, or he's going to take it, get really low. Then the next wave comes up and the Ul is going to zone him. And he's either going to Cupid ult, and then he's going to beads the ult and jump on top of the Cupid, or just 2 and walk out of it. Let's not forget about that. You just 2 and walk out of the Cupid ult before it pops off. Cupid's dead. The Cupid has no pressure, no control. He has to use his only damaging ability to clear the wave. Good luck. Cupid just does, he's not it. It ain't it. Definitely not it. Dodgy would be a broken jungler if there weren't CC immune ults in the game. Period. Dodgy's late game is absolutely unreal. Dodgy one-shots late game and has an instant ult that is extremely safe. The only problem with Dodgy is if you need to be the engaging factor of your team and they have CC immune ults, your ult gets wasted way too much. I think Dodgy is the best jungler that never gets banned. Ever gets banned. Like literally never gets banned. I think it's the best jungler that never gets banned, period. Danza, I think, is an average hunter. I think because his 3, people have learned how to play around his 3 and find him in his 3, he's a little bit less valuable. Outside of that, I think he's pretty good. I think really good Danza players who are using the 2 to interrupt and disrupt and peel are going to be playing great. And then your average Danza player who isn't using the 2 perfectly is probably going to get farmed. So right there on the average tier. Disco, super, I'm going to say situational. I don't think she's terrible, but she's not a strong mage by any means. Her passive is her best part of her entire kit. And in team fights, it is super easy to just play on top of her and around her and her not be able to do her job. Erlang Shen. I know a lot of people really think Erlang Shen is great right now. I do not agree. I think Erlang Shen is valuable and pretty good. I don't think he's strong. I think he lacks a CC immune ult, which is going to punish him 99% of the time. Early aggression comes out of almost every god right now. It is. He tries to cheese early ranks, but there's early aggression on anybody. Like every god can early aggress, and Erlang's isn't better than other gods is the thing. Like most of the assassins in the game that I've already talked about can play fine around him. You can't knock up a dodgy, right? So that early too late 2v2 is not going to go in your favor. You're not going to outtrade a Camazotz. You're definitely not outtrading a Bastet. You might be able to fight on top of a Kleena, but her one is knock-up immune, and she's going to silence you out of that, so you're not going to win that. I mean, that's just off what I've selected here. I think Erlang is good, and I think if you're cheesing games with it, I fully get where you're coming from. Like, you're just going for the early level 1-2 kills and then snowballing. But the second you don't snowball, the second you don't win. Like, you just don't control the game until the late game. I think Disco's pretty doo-doo. E-Set. I actually think E-Set's not that bad. I'd rather play E-Set any day or have an E-Set on my team than a Disco. For two reasons. The silence and the stun are extremely underrated from E-Set. Nobody beats the silence. That doesn't happen. Most people don't beat the beads. Beads the stun. Beads the ball. Not beads the beads. Beads the stun. Because if you beads the stun, you get followed up instantly by a support initiation or a jungler blink. As long as you understand being a hyper pressure god, that doesn't mean fighting. It means controlling the lane. It means looking for setup all the time. As long as you do that on ESET, you have value. You create great value. Way more than a lot of these other gods. And the second thing is the fact that every time your ult's up, you should secure every objective and nobody should ever be able to compete with you. Raise, you stink. Fafnir. I think Fafnir is still a... I don't know if I'd put him in strong. I think I'd put Fafnir in average for support. Super safe. Whoops. Oh. Super safe support overall. But auto attack gods aren't crazy meta. He's not in any situation or he's not in a place to be burning objectives over everyone else. I think when we saw Frenzy being picked up all the time, he was way more valuable then. Now that we're in like a support-esque meta where Khepri is something that can be played and assassins are actually playing like assassins again, he's fallen down to the average for me. Definitely fallen down to the average tier for me. If he's your support, go for it. If you're really good on him, you're gonna play fine. It's not a big deal. Fenrir. I love Fenrir, man. Not as a jungler though. Fenrir as a jungler just does not feel that good. Feels extremely average. Fenrir as a support who gets an early kill is like the heavens opening up for your team as a jungler. If I have a Fenrir on my team who kills in his lane, the rest of my game is the easiest thing in the world. Every time. But in the jungle role, super average. And if you don't get that kill, extremely average support. That doesn't do very much. Just no peel. You're trying to set up all the time. In your ranked and casuals, it works more because people don't know how to react to a support jumping at them. They usually try to run when they can just kill you. Freya, situational. I like playing Freya. I think Freya is one of my top 3 gods to play right now for fun. I don't know why people hate her overall as a god so much. I know why she's not good. She has no mobility. Gods like Dodgy and Bastet fully counter her. She doesn't get to play the game. She doesn't get to play the game at all with those gods in the game. But if you late pick Freya into the right comps and you run people down and you're aggressive and you understand your build and you understand your power spikes, she can be played. She's not good. She's not going to be consistent, but she can be played. And carry games. That's the factor. When you get in that situation where she's a solid pick, she will carry those games. So this is Razy Crazy's main, Ganesh. If Razy Crazy is playing Ganesh, poop. I'd rather just F6 the game or dodge. But overall, Ganesh is actually a pretty solid pickup. Using the ult, using the silence for aggression, being up in their face, super valuable. Counters a lot of gods that have channeled abilities. Whoa! Whoa! What's happening? Stop spamming. Chill. What is going on? I don't know what just happened. But moving on. Ban him? Remove his mode? Geb is the best support in the game. If you think otherwise, you're probably a bot. Or you have Geb on your team every single game. Because if you play against the Geb, you know it sucks. Ready to use Psychic Ganesh. Anyway, back to Geb. Best peel in the game. You have a ult that does damage and percent damage and stuns. You have a knockup. Knockups are the best you see in Smite. You have a shield that literally will just continuously save people. You're extremely tanky with the builds. You get full CDR with the build, so you're able to spam all of your stuff. And then you have great mobility. And your ult is CC immunity when you're using it properly. Like, Geb is the perfect support. If you're a bad support player, I tell you to play Geb or Athena. If Geb gets through your matches, pick Geb. Geb is the best god in the game to me that will impact all stages of the match. Gilgamesh, I think Gilgamesh is still strong. I think some people underrate him. I don't really know why. As a jungler, the ability builds work fantastic. He pumps out way too much damage. He's super safe. He has some of the best CC in the game. He is a lane-wide ultimate, which is massive disruption in team fights that people don't want to go in. I think he's great. I've even as a solo laner, I'd put him at average. As a jungler, I think he's very strong. I think you could play Gilgamesh every single game and you would be in a good matchup 99% of the time. His only downfall is his lack of a CC immune ult. That's it. He lacks a CC immune ult. If he had one, he'd probably be like top 3 to 4 junglers in the game forever. Guan Poo Poo, boys and girls. I'm not going to be like a bot here. As much as I think Guan is bad, he's still situational. He can play fine and win games. You don't have any lanes you win or stomp. You don't have any team fights you're great in. But overall, you're a very subpar god that's not quite poop yet. You're not poop just yet. Now, if his ult didn't last for 45 seconds and actually do good damage, he'd be poop. Hachi, average ADC right now. CC immune ult, always going to be valuable. Pretty good clear. Good team fight. Good objective play. Overall, like that standard of Hunter to me right now, and he's kind of probably going to stay there. Hades is situational. Needs to be the right matchups where you can kind of lock people down super easy. Any team comp that's highly mobile, you're probably going to be worthless. And anyone who actually knows how to build anti-heal is probably going to make you do way less. But if they focus you too much, this is a solo laner, by the way. Don't play Hades anywhere else. Everywhere else, trash. Solo lane, if you know your matchup and you rotate a lot and you're able to lock down the enemy team because of their picks, fine. It's perfectly good. Hebo. I think Hebo is situational. Hebo is situational because of your short range, because of the amount of damage in the game, and because of the gods that are in the game and being played. Bastet, hard counters Hebo. Kleena, hard counters Hebo. Can't be knocked up. Dodgy, hard counters Hebo. All the solo laners will be able to run out of Hebo and not die. You've got gods like Ardeo, which are going to be able to lock down a Hebo super easily. Even with the carpet, it doesn't matter. You're a low mobility mage that does a lot of damage when you're able to free cast. You will not be able to free cast if people aren't idiots. Period. I would not play Hebo in mid ever. That's as a jungler where you're kind of relying on people to just let you free farm and it's way too risky. Way too risky. Heimdall. I think Heimdall is still a very strong hunter. I think your average hunter player is a horrible Heimdall for one reason. Your average Heimdall hunter player does not use their 3 right at all. If you're using your 3 to get back to lane, you're a potato. Like if that is the way you use it every time, you are a full-blown bot. Period. You always want to be replacing your 3 down so that dash is instant and gets you out of fights. You should be ungankable unless they're diving your tower. You have insane vision off of your 1, and you have really good lane clear. You also have great self-peel. An ultimate that sends you off into who knows where. A knockback, which is able to combo your auto, so you're able to auto to auto. That's correct. And then, like I said, the fact that you're just safe all the time, Heimdall is a insanely strong hunter that you should really learn how to play. Hell, your average mid lane healer. So keep in mind, they're about to nerf or buff. Is it a buff or a nerf? They're changing it so the out of combat healing is even harder to do now. It's 40% anti-heal instead of 30 in the next patch. So it's a nerf to healers, a buff to the actual debuff, I guess. So out of combat healing is going to be even worse. The thing is, Hell's kit overall is actually really valuable. The CC immunity from the 2 is nuts. The damage you pump out is nuts. And the out of combat healing is still going to be super relevant. I mean, you build full damage on Hell. You play around being a super mage that still does a lot of damage. It's just you get countered when people want to focus you, and anti-heal is going to counter you. You have to be a good Hell player, and you have to use that 2 perfectly. If you're doing that and you get an early lead, the anti-heal won't make a difference. It won't change the game at all. Hera, to me, is a strong mage. I think some people have realized this over time, and other people are still just against Hera all around. Hera's combo is nuts. Nobody wants to pre-beads a Hera ult. Ever. Never, ever. And the problem with that is, you get knocked up by Hera ult, Hera hits you with a sheep, then you want to beads. And you're like, okay, let me beads now. By then, you've already taken 60, 70% of your HP. She's hitting you with a 1. She's taking no damage during this time because she has a shield. She's probably going a Book of the Dead build. It's just a very, very difficult god to play on top of, and that's what you do with a mage. You dive and play on top of a mage. She has probably the best self-peel of any mage, and the fact that she's super immobile but safe is weird. It's hard to play around. You go Book of the build on Hera. I would go Book of the Dead build. If I was being super dove and I didn't know what to do, I would go the breastplate Book of the Dead build. If I was playing fine as a mage, I would go a different build. Like, I would go Book of the Dead, but I would go heavy, heavy damage and get early CDR. Yeah, this will be on YouTube. Hercules. So, Hercules jungle. We've been put on by Kobaby, minor league jungler. One of the best junglers in the game currently. He thinks Hercules is cracked. Played it a couple games. It's pretty cracked. With a specific, I can't speak. With a specific build, you're able to auto attack, cancel, insta kill people. Mages, hunters, other junglers. Throughout a whole game. You need to have good skill and good awareness overall. You are kind of W king a lot, but you need to be able to hit your 2. Most people who spam Hercules are pretty good at hitting their 2. In other roles, I wouldn't really play Hercules in the solo. I think he'd probably be situational in the solo just because he falls off so hard late game. But with this jungle play and jungle build, I think I actually have the game on YouTube. Really strong jungler right now. Sorry, strong is probably the wrong word. Really good, above average or like at that average level-ish jungler that will catch people off guard, and I'd say he's strong because people won't know how to play against it. As soon as you play it a couple times and they know how to play against it, you'll definitely be in that average tier. Horus, I think, is situational. You need like physical damage in the support role. That's about it. He's like semi-aggressive, but not. And then he's semi-support, but not. So if I need a physical support to be an actual peeling support, that's when I play Horus. Ho Yi, one of the stronger hunters right now, has a lot of really good matchups, shreds tanks, has a good team fight, has crazy bounces right now, and is just overall kind of a lane monster. So he is doing very well. Hunbats, I would put in the average tier. I think Hunbats is actually like your baseline for jungling still. I think he's very good. But the fact that clearing the jungle has become so one-dimensional and everyone clears at almost the exact same pace, that's where he lost what he gained. A while ago, they made it so his 3 clears really, really fast. That bumped him up a little bit. Now, with the current way the map is and the way that you start hog and the items, his clear doesn't really put him ahead of anyone else in any way. His team fight is still one of the best with his ultimate. But outside of that, there are many other junglers that do way more damage. He also doesn't have a CC immune ult, which definitely hurts him. Izanami, I would say Izanami is a strong hunter, especially for your base level of casual and ranked. You have the best clear, the easiest clear, sorry, the easiest best clear. Super easy to play around. And that's like what she brings to the table. She free clears the lane and people freak out, don't know how to play against it, and you kind of W key at people and just auto them down. You have a decent ultimate that does a lot more damage than people realize. You also have the slow for setup so you can actually hit your autos. But it's almost like the Arachne or Kali of the ADC role. Janice, if you're a good Janice player, I'd probably put you in the strong pick. Most Janice players are not good. I'm sorry. Most of you guys aren't good. You want to think you're good, but you're not. And it is what it is. You need to be a really, really good Janice player to have Janice considered strong. Everyone else, average. You don't use your ult to move around enough. You don't use your ult for your team enough. You don't portal for your team enough. You use your portal to try to do damage and setup. That is one of the worst things you can do in the mid to late game. Gets you killed all the time. Jingwei, average. I think Jingwei is actually one of the most boring and unfun gods in Smite, and probably always will be. But she's a safe hunter. If you don't know what you're doing, but you understand how to clear and back to base and rotate off of the passive, you'll do your job. If you understand how to save your ult to run away, you'll do your job. Congrats on playing the most boring hunter in the game if you're a Jingwei man. Jormungandr. I can't put him in poop. I think Jormungandr is poo-poo. But people are making that stupid diamond arrow build work. Whatever it's called. Whatever the arrow is. Whatever the tier 1... Whatever the arrow is. They're making that build work. It catches people off guard, and it gets kills. I think Yorm is one of the lower tier solos, only in solo role. Don't play it anywhere else. Do not take it to support, and you're going to get clapped. In solo, if you catch them off guard and you get kills, you'll be good for the rest of the game. If you don't have a lead and you're on par with the enemy solo in the late game team fights, you kind of screw your team over really hard. You require a certain team comp where your team can still dive with you basically not being in the game. If I'm a jungler and I have no solo with me while diving, I hate my life. I absolutely hate playing as a jungler with no solo next to me. Yorm is not going to be next to you. He's going to be up in the clouds, just, jerking off, jumping around. That is why Yorm will never be what you need out of the solo role. Yorm mid goes crazy though. And what? That's weird. I can't find anywhere where Yorm isn't trash in the mid lane. Can't find it. Dog shit god for the mid lane. You're trolling. Absolutely trolling. All right. Kali. I want to put Kali in a broken. I have to put Kali in a broken. I'm pretty sure anyone who plays Kali every game will maintain a 60 to 70% win rate in ranked, no matter what level you play at. In my Grandmasters games on PC, she's banned all the time. In my console games, I played her I played 48 games and I probably played her 10 times and I think I lost once. She's extremely easy to play. The build that is going to be on Smite Source for her, and I've ran almost every game, is pretty much unstoppable. She plays like Arachne and Baka do, but has an ult that buys you 5 seconds, has a reset, has a really good initiation for the early and mid-game ganks. And honestly, it's just scary to play against. It's really, really hard to play against. I think Kali is the jungler to play because she gets through bans. I think she should be played all the time. If you just care about winning. Like, if you just want to win, go main Kali and you will win games. And I think she's just easier. Like I said, Kama and Achilles win most of their games I see them in. They're more difficult. They have a decent amount of mechanics to them. Kali is literally blink 3 auto, 2 auto. Keep autoing. like that's it. They get a little bit of distance, leap on them. They turn on you, ultimate. That's it. It is the most cut and dry, straightforward. This is how you use the abilities. Play Kali. That's what you get out of that. Play Kali. Khepri. I think Khepri is a good support right now, but I don't think he's strong. I really, really don't think he's strong. I think at a high level, that's where he becomes strong because high level Khepri players and supports can engage with their team and then soft disengage back to the mages and the hunters perfectly, and they use their 2 right. I think most of you playing Khepri and playing support will never 2 your teammates, ever. You won't root. You'll just sit in the back looking for an ult. If you're that style of player that I just described, Khepri, like you're making Khepri average. If you're in between, I'd say you're slightly above average. And if you're playing Khepri to the max, that's where Khepri becomes a very strong pick. And it just works well with the way assassins are played right now. King Arthur's average. He got knocked down a little bit. He's still playable, still really good. Has some bad matchups. Have to watch out for those bad matchups, but overall, pretty solid pick. Kukulkan. I would say realistically, Kukulkan is way more situational than a god like Agni or even Poseidon, because you're not a super aggressive clearing god. You pretty much clear and run around and try to rotate a lot. If you're in a game where you're able to get consistently set up to hit your ultimate, then you're going to have a lot more value. If you're trying to hit all your free ults, if you aren't having a really aggressive team comp, you will struggle because you do not do well when being dove. Diving Kukulkan is super easy right now. Yeah, you can drop your 3 and stand at it. Who cares? They're still going to kill you. Avoiding the ult is super easy. Just have to be an average player to avoid a Kukulkan ult. And he just kind of struggles. He's kind of cool in the fact that you press 3 on the wave and you walk away and it's cleared. Fantastic. But outside of that, in an actual Smite game, like 5v5, playing for an objective, pretty hard to get away with consistently. Kumba Poo-Poo. Well, you know where he's going. Honestly, I would put him into a tier lower than this if it was possible right now. Kumba sucks. Kumba just, he sucks. He does nothing at all. Like, he really brings nothing to the table. He sets up nothing. That's his job, right? Oh, I can mez for 10 minutes and then I can root you. And I can ult you up in the air. It doesn't do enough. They took his damage down way too much. So where he used to be annoying and also do good damage, he is neither. He does nothing. He absolutely does nothing. Kumba is trash. Kazimbo, situational. You can play him in support. You can play him in solo. He's not crazy strong. He can disrupt a little bit with that ultimate. And he can be annoying by walking at certain people with the 2 proc. But realistically, you just die through your 2. Kumba OP def, no. You won't win solo lane in any matchups. And you won't control the support role. And you won't play like a support. Your peel is not good. Your disruption with the ult for that time is cool and useful, but overall, you just don't do enough. You're like a really terrible Sobek. Loki, I'm going to put Loki in the strong tier. I think Loki as a jungler is ridiculously valuable. It's really easy to play. It's easy to get multi-kills. You have kind of just multiple ways to play him now, where you can be a super teamfight oriented initiator. You can be a teamfight oriented in and out god where you stealth in, poke, disengage. You use the ult to disengage. You can use the ult to keep chasing. But you do so much damage with that 3 scaling while the 1's ticking that it's kind of just not fair. And it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't take a lot of skill. And your teammates won't react well to Loki. Most people don't know how to play around a Loki. They struggle with it. I would ban Loki in all my games if like Geb, Loki, and Achilles are the gods I personally ban in my right games. Every time. I hate playing against them because my teammates can't deal with them. No, there's nobody split pushes on Loki anymore. It's just different ways to play around the team fights. That's a lie. Somebody probably still split pushes with him, but it's not good. Medusa is getting a slight buff to... She's getting a quality of life change, right? They're making it so the anti-heal that's on her 3 is going to be removed from the 3 and put on the 2. So you're going to have anti-heal now in your kit that's regularly on people, but you still suck because your dash is still blocked by everybody in the world. And your ult doesn't go through walls. If they make it so she can dash through stuff, or they change her dash to work differently, she would be probably average. If they made it so her dash went through people and her ult went through walls, she would be strong. If her ult went through walls, bro, she would be beast and be able to make some of the coolest plays in the game. Mercury, average pick, mainly because Spectral's in the game. Remove Spectral. He's strong. They just buffed him so his 1 goes through walls. So those times when people jump over walls and you can't finish them, you'll be able to finish them. Those times when you're rounding a corner and they're kind of using the corner to get away from you, you'll be able to throw it on the other side of the corner. Mercury's going to be better in a sense of like feeling better, but he's not going to be super strong. Dash damages minions. Oh yeah, okay, so Medusa's dash damages minions now. Still doesn't matter, because her problem is her dash gets blocked. Her dash gets her killed. She has no real mobility, because her dash gets her killed. Merlin, even with Book of the Dead build, is not good. I had somebody come in and asking me about him yesterday or the day before in stream. Like, I can't figure him out. I can't play passive, I can't play aggressive. That's because he's neither. He requires a lot of farm with the Book of the Dead build to be super viable and relevant. He is a middle, like in between that, where you can't play super passive because you'll never be in position, and you can't play super aggressive because you'll get dove, and a lot of guys counter Merlin right now because he lacks CCM and ult. You have to play in between, and you have to play off a lot of setup from your teams, or you have to play to set up your team and always be in a good position, which is difficult. The Morgan Le Fay got nerfed into the ground. She's extremely average right now. She's not bad, but she's not good. They hurt her. She was nasty. Like, she was one comboing everybody. Now that's not happening anymore. She's kind of frustrating for portions of the game, but overall you can kind of avoid everything. Mulan. For casuals and ranked, Mulan is broken. I personally do not have any problems playing against Mulan because I know what to expect. But her power spike is one of the craziest power spikes in Smite's history, in my opinion. The second your 2 upgrades, I can't imagine anyone else having more of an ability that swings a fight or swings that engagement you're in than any other ability in the game. Because not only do you hit for like half of people's health once it levels up, you heal yourself for an insane amount. And then your 1 has a good power spike. Your 3 is really useful if you're good with it. And then the ultimate, when you are a tanky god, like as a solo laner, ultimate's insanely valuable. As a jungler, it's still really valuable. You just have to be smart about using it. Mulan can be played in both roles. I think Mulan is insanely strong in the jungle and more broken in the solo lane because you can just consistently fight and people can't deal with it. She hits way too hard. That power spike is, like I said, it's one of the nuttiest power spikes I've ever seen. Naja. I'm pretty sure Naja is the worst god in the game. I already know, dude. The second YouTube commenters hear that shit, just rage typing. Just, fuck you, weekend. That's all the commenters are going to say. Look, Naja's stun puts you in a bad position. That's your best ability, and it puts you out of position. Your 2 is completely trash when you aren't in combat. Period. It just doesn't do what it used to. They buffed the 1, so the first initial hit actually does okay damage now. Still not good. This is as a jungler. I would not play Naja as a support either. I think it's not a bad aggressive support because you're building super tanky and you won't die every time you're out of position. But I also think you're easy to kill as a support because you're out of position all the time. You're like a bad Ymir. Now, here's the other thing. Your ultimate, anyone who has a brain and builds beads should never get Naja ulted. Unless you're playing on like 100 plus ping, 200 ping. You should be able to beads the ult every time because it hits you and then the game says, hey, pause. You beats. You guys want beats? Want beats? Go for beats. And then you can beats out of it. So no good player is getting hit by Naja beats or Naja ult. You can build Magi's if you're full-blown potato, and then you're definitely never getting Naja ulted. And then the rest of the kit just doesn't do enough damage. You're out of position all the time. All the time. And I think Naja absolutely needs an ability rework on a couple of abilities. Period. No, Woody, I will rage. I will lose my shit. No XXL hoodies. Oh yeah, new merch is out, guys. The link is going to be in the description, and if you do exclamation mark merch in my chat, it'll pop up. It's pre-orders. The heather gray hoodie, black and gray beanies are all available. 100 hoodies, 25 of each beanie. There will be XXXL, triple XL, and a 4XL. I have to get them in a different material. They don't make them in the material I'm getting. So I'm going to go down to like the next tier of material, and those will go up. So that'll happen. Neath. Situational. You have to fully play around the fact that you can ult around the map and never have your team gank your lane unless the enemy ADC is trash. Nemesis, I think Nemesis is a very strong jungler. I think Nemesis falls under the radar and counters and plays well into most of the gods being played in Smite right now. I think the ultimate is still one of the strongest ultimates in the game. I don't think there's anybody that eats a Nemesis ult and is happy and doesn't die. It just doesn't happen. Like, Nemesis is insanely strong in the jungle. The only thing you lack is CC immunity, but you make up for it with the fact that you can run ability builds, auto attack builds, or hybrid ability auto attack builds. You can be extremely aggressive all the time, and then you have a shield which pretty much negates any major ability you want to negate. Nike solo lane, one of the best solo laners in the game right now, and probably the easiest solo laner to play. You have some bad matchups where they're going to interrupt your one pretty consistently. If you avoid those matchups, or just like understand how you're going to play into them, because you do have a cleave auto attack, it should be super easy to still play into it. You group up the wave with your two, cleave it down, easy peasy. But I say easiest to play because you have a shield that gives you your entire health bar back, which just saying that out loud should make you realize that's extremely broken. I think they nerfed the slow on Nike's ult. It was like 6 or 8 seconds. They nerfed it down to like 4 or 3 or something. Still ridiculously annoying and strong in team fights. And like I said, just easy to play. You have big round abilities you can't miss. Huge, long, rectangular abilities you can't miss. And even if you do, you got 3 of them. So it'll be fine. Nox, poop. Nox does nothing. You can't play Nox in any lane and it be strong. There are some people who main Nox in the mid lane and play it and make it viable. But the only reason that happens is because those people play Nox flawlessly and nobody plays against Nox, so they don't know what they're doing. If you don't have both of those things occur at the same time, the god is completely worthless. And if anybody is a decent player against a Nox, they're going to build Magi's just to make the Nox waste the 2, or they're just going to beat the Nox and kill her every single time. Every time. I played a Nox today. I was Pele, and I played against a Nox who only went for me. Late game, I just blink on her and kill her over and over again. There's nothing she can do. She dashes away, I ult her. She's dead. Nua, situational. Because you're pretty much an ult bot and you do nothing in the team fights. You have low mobility, and none of the builds really make you nuts. Odin is broken. Odin is the best solo laner to play. He takes literally 0 effort to play and win. You will not die because your 2 is broken in the late game. You will not die. It has no cooldown. You spam it, you will not die. You have a slow on your 3 that leads into a stun. So while taking no damage, you can walk at people, troll them, and then stun them. You have an ultimate, so the second anyone leaps, you lock them down. Your team can follow up. Anyone doesn't have a leap, they're dead. Because people in your games are not going to build Phantom. It's not going to happen. You can dream, it's not going to happen. Nobody's building Phantom in your game. 1 out of 15 games, you might have a Phantom in it. It's not happening. And then you have good mobility. You have good lane clear. And it's just super safe. There isn't much to it. You can ult and walk right out of it. Like, you are an extremely safe solo lane god that was overtuned by a little bit. And it just makes all the difference. Final thinks Achilles is the best solo laner? Yes. If Final K is playing solo lane and he's playing Achilles, probably better. If you're playing Achilles versus yourself playing Odin, you'll win the game on Odin way more than you'll win on Achilles. You know why? Achilles is difficult to play. Well, Achilles takes slightly more skill to play. You probably don't even know how to auto attack cancel on Achilles, so you definitely shouldn't play Achilles. And on Odin, you don't need to worry about that. Odin's way easier to play. That alone, like if you want to talk about perfect play, yeah, Achilles is great. Like I said, Achilles wins every single game. He also doesn't get banned. Odin gets banned every game. Every single game. Odin in support role, I would put in strong or maybe average. I think he's extremely overrated for the support role. I think he's good, but I'd rather have a Guardian doing real support role stuff than a heavy in-your-face warrior trying to support. Plus, he has anti-heal, which just helps because in these games today, like in all your games lately, and really for me, someone's healing. The hunter's healing. The mid is building some kind of healing item. The jungler is building a soul eater. The mass amount of healing coming out from your supports and meditations. Like, Odin has a lot of value. Oleron fell off a bit. He was being played every 5 seconds with the Stone of Fall builds. He's falling back down to average. People, you're still going to have good games with him. And it's just about using your ult right. It's really about using the ult properly. If you're using the ult right all the time, you'll have good games. But overall, most people are going to build a CC immune ult god into the ult run and just dive the ult run. It'll be hard to play around. Osiris, I would put Osiris in situational. He's not a great solo laner and he's not a good jungler. He will fall off late game in both roles and be maybe not worthless, but he will not be good. He will be bottom of the barrel in those late game fights compared to a lot of those other solo laners. And in the jungle, it's the same thing. You're way too squishy with low mobility and low burst. You do not insta burst people down on Osiris, and that's a problem. Pele, I think Pele is average. Pele can be played around. Anti-heal is going to make her a lot more difficult to play. Heavy CC counters her. Dodging her her knockup super counters her, and she really relies on that, on those blink knockups. So if you can recognize that, use your abilities to avoid that or turn on her during that and lock her down. And it's pretty easy to lock her down once she's committed, and she's almost always full committed in the team fights. You'll have fine matchup in a Pele most times, but on the flip side, if you are the Pele, you do decent burst. You don't have the best mobility, but you have decent mobility as long as you're super patient with your ultimate. And then you have range poke, which is always valuable. Persephone. Persephone's average. Good your average or good Persephone players that truly understand her kit are really annoying to play against and are going to do their job as mid laners. They're not going to be cracked. You're not going to do the most burst in every single team fight, but you have a lot of disruption. Your cripple is very frustrating to play against, even after the nerfs. The range is massive. And then you do have good, consistent damage. You aren't perfectly safe, but you're pretty safe. It's like an in-between mage that does okay. Poseidon, situational. You need to be able to lock down whoever you want to kill. Like, it needs to be a comp that you heavily counter with your Whirlpool, because people are going to build Aegis and your ult's not going to hit anybody. You need good CDR. You need a good build. You need to be able to lock down to the Whirlpool and get value out of your Whirlpool and look for just burning Aegises with a Kraken and then follow right back up with them. It's kind of like playing like Dodgy or Hun Bats into heavy gods with CC immunities. The second they don't have a way out of those ultimate or a way to get away from that Poseidon ult, you have to be using it. You need to be perfect when you play Poseidon because you have no mobility and you have no CC immune ult. So that's why you're situational. Ra, average, especially with the healing nerf that's coming. He's going to be even more average. His lack of actual mobility is his problem. He does do a lot of burst damage with his ult. There's a lot of gods he can follow up off super easily. I think people don't understand that too. Like, all Gab has to do is knock you up and a Ra can ult you. You have to be a confident, good Ra, always in position to get a lot of value out of it, but you do have a CC immune ult, so you'll have that as a crutch. And then you have decent clear from range between your 3 and your 1. You should be pretty safe most of the time while clearing. Raijin, still average. He got slightly nerfed, right? I feel like they nerfed his passive or something. They nerfed something on him that made him a little bit worse. I think he's still really good. He's a frustrating in-your-face mage that when he's walking at you, you definitely start to freak out a little bit. He can be dove. A lot of gods are going to punish him the second he ults. Oh, they did. They nerfed his 3. They nerfed scaling on something, or they definitely nerfed his 3. If it was the scaling on that would make sense. But yeah, he's still pretty good. He just doesn't run the game anymore. Rama, just your average safe hunter. A little more aggressive than Jingwei, but very similar. It's where you're just trying to clear and be safe and smart. You can dive into the backline with your with your jungler and your solo, which is where his value comes in. Not many hunters can impact killing a mage or another hunter. It just doesn't happen in team fights. The second you see a jungler and a solo blink into the backline, on Rama, you ult and you just follow up off of them. You make sure that person dies and you've done your job. Problem is, doing that, you leave your mage out to kind of just die or fend for themselves, and that doesn't always turn out to be in your favor. Ratatoskr, situational. They're buffing his acorns, so that's going to make him a little bit better because I think he's pretty bad right now. Do I think he's going to become great? No, I don't. I think he's situational. He's a good jungler to late pick. If you're looking to get value out of a global ult, I do like his ult for initiations and dive in the backline. Make sure you pick a heavy dive. That's it. Like, Rat pairs well with Rama, oddly enough. But outside of that, there's just way better junglers that are far more consistent. Ravana, the easiest, safest, most consistent jungler there is in Smite. He's got easy to hit abilities that do a lot of damage. He has CC damage immunity on his 2. He can avoid damage and avoid CC on his ultimate. So he's 2 ways to avoid a lot of stuff. Great initiation, great engage, great chase, good kill, good setup. The only thing he lacks is super hard CC, but you make up with that for your nutty 4 abilities. Like if you really think about it, a super high damaging 1 that's a cone that slows. A 2 that makes you take no damage, makes you avoid CC and does damage and is AoE. A 3 that is also AoE-esque, roots, does good damage and heals you. And then an ultimate that is AoE, can hit multiple people and allows you to move around. Always going to be strong. Scylla, I think, is a strong mage. I think she's probably the best mage that no one really respects. I don't know why. Her root is one of the best mage CCs in the game. It is literally the hardest thing to play around as an assassin. Scylla's 1 is the hardest mage ability for an assassin to play into. Period. As soon as a Scylla's picked, I hate playing into it because it is very hard to dive. She just does so much damage. She has basically 2 ults out of the 2 and the ultimate in the late game. And then she's got the reset. She just does a lot. She's also very safe. Can't hit Scylla abilities. I mean, I can. I don't struggle with that. But then it's very safe because you have a massive dash on your 3. You just have to use it properly. Serket, situational. A lot of gods counter Serket. I wouldn't play Serket support right now, so you pretty much are guaranteed playing in the jungle. If you go full damage in the jungle and you don't have a lead, you'll die too quick. People will turn and kill you. That's really the issue with Serket. You kind of stand in place with your 1, can be turned on. You definitely stand in place with your ultimate, you're going to die. If you are a full damage Serket and a hunter or a mage is standing next to you when you ult, you die. Period. You just die. Set. I think Set is still really good. I don't think he's strong. I think he'd be played in every game and it wouldn't be a bad pick, but they've nerfed him so much and they've hit his Hydra's procs and he's kind of just at the point where he's finally just good. Build anti-heal into Set and he will not take over your game. Period. He will not control your game. If you build no anti-heal, he'll probably run your game. Scotty, kind of situational. Difficult to play, but actually does a lot because of the AoE you actually have. You have to play kind of in the mix of the fights rather than in the back like a normal hunter. Makes it harder to position. You lack CC immunity, so you need to be able to pressure out in your lane. That's why she's average. Almost situational. I'd probably put her situational. I think that's more fair. Because there's going to be... You pick a Scotty early in a team comp, you're going to be hard countered and you're not going to get to play the game. Sobek, I think Sobek is a strong support because he's easy to play. Has one of the most simplistic setup abilities in the game. You cannot miss because you knock them back and then you pluck them, so you can't miss it. And then you have an ultimate that makes you get out of jail free. Plus it has CC immunity. You also do pretty good damage considering. Soul nerfed a little bit overall. She's kind of just got knocked down. I think people learned how to play into Soul again, and she isn't performing as well. I still think she's pretty good. If you need a sustaining damage mage, just a constant just burst mage, you want like just consistent team fight. I don't know what comp you'd played in specifically for that, but that's what you're looking for when you play that mid role. That's Soul for you. Wukong, just a safe Soul laner. Always has been, always will be. Actually dies fairly quick. And the fact that so much damage is coming out of full tank solos, that's why you saw him fall down a bit. He was building full damage. And when he was building full damage, he was kind of catching people off guard as a Soul laner, killing backline. That doesn't happen as much because the Soul laners are super tanky and doing it anyway. Susano. Whoops. I think Susano is a strong jungler right now. Because his ultimate is probably the best assassin teamfight ultimate in the game. I think it beats Hunbat's ult because knockup is broken. If you Susano ult 2 people in a late game teamfight, your team will win the game. And it's not a lot. It's not a hard thing to do. It's not difficult. You have good displacement out of the 2. You have the ability to kill somebody at level 2 in lane now, which is what really kind of puts Susano out of that average tier. Susano's early game used to be doo-doo. They buffed his 3, so his clear is better. And if you auto attack cancel off the 3 and the 1 at level 2, you can kill the mage. You can 100 to 0 mage, which people don't realize. Sylvanas is an average support. He's gotten up there. He's a little bit better. They tweaked him a bit. They changed his passive. He's definitely performing better, but he's still easy to kill, easy to play around, easy to avoid. Going blink on Sylvanas is great for initiation, but it puts you out of position and you will die. Terra's good. The ult's just been nerfed enough to make her not super strong. She's got decent setup. There are gods that are going to counter her. There are gods that are just going to play well around her. And then anytime you ult your team, if the other team has Ankh, your team is going to take more damage. And that's overall going to end up losing any team fight that an Ankh is used properly in. Thanatos, just high risk, high reward. So he's average. You miss a scythe in a late game fight, you probably lose that fight and you die. The Morrigan, another average mage. You have pressure kind of in your favor. But once you get into late game team fights, you're not doing what other mages are doing. You heavily rely on what was picked in the game to kind of dictate your strength. If there's another mage that has big ults, you're going to swap into them. Then you might be kind of useful, but you're really taking away that massive mage burst that every mage brings to the table except you. Thor needs a buff. He's situational in my opinion. I'm sorry. I think he's like almost average, but he falls off late game still. And his power spike he gets at that level like 10, 11, 12 is nowhere near as strong as some of these other assassins when they power spike with their items. Can I explain auto attack canceling? It's when you use an auto, use an ability, and instant auto again. So on Nemesis, if you left click and the second your auto hits them, you press 3, it will instantly reset your auto attack and you will auto again right away. So you'll auto 3 auto. It'll be 0.1 seconds, just boom, boom, boom. And you can do that on a good amount of gods. It's resetting your auto attack timer so you instantly auto. There's a lot of abilities in the game that do that. Thoth, situational. You get dough very easy, but there are a lot of gods that your distance is going to like kind of put you in favor of playing against. A lot of mages in the lane. If you learn how to be aggressive with the dash and not... When I say be aggressive with the dash, that means understanding when you can dash and try to set up your team and when you can't. If you can get to that point, solid pick, okay pick, but it's a very difficult point to get to. Tiamat, still the strongest mage in my opinion. I don't think Tiamat's broken. I think it's frustrating, and the fact that there's still a damage mitigation mage in the game is ridiculous. I hate it. But because they've nerfed her a little bit, they've changed her little minions a little bit, she's definitely going to be played around, and she can be dove now, which makes it not so bad to play into. Tsukiyomi, I wish Tsukiyomi was better. I really do. I don't find him that hard to play into. I think he's pretty good. Having the ultimate to dive is sick, and being able to bait people by ulting and then Aegising and having them collapse on you, solid setups. But overall, if your team isn't kind of running at them for you to also just run and spam your one as a jungler, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to be in a clashing team fight, being in the mix. It kind of sucks, and you die really fast and don't do as much damage as you would expect. Tier, average solo, just gets played again. Like a lot of the solos are just going to work him. I think borderline strong hunter because of the aggression, your ability to kill. I think a good ult player in like the plat and lower bracket will probably be strong, but overall, anyone who knows how to play into an ult won't struggle. It won't be as bad. Really easy to gank ult overall as an assassin. Doesn't have CC immunity. Doesn't fall off anymore late game though. That's the one plus side to ult. He's kind of like in between. I can see you arguing strong for him as well. Vamana is doo-doo. There's not even situational here. He's doo-doo. You literally just kill him, period. They're buffing him in this patch where he gains attack speed from his passive, but it doesn't matter because his problem is that he dies. He dies way too quick. He's not going to be a good solo laner, and he's definitely not going to be a good jungler. If you build damage, he dies. If you build defense and he ults, you onk him, you sunder him, one or the other, he dies. Literally just dies. He just falls over. You just kill him because he's right there in your face. Vulcan, an average mage because you lack CC immunity and you don't have good mobility. Decent damage, good poke, but too easy to turn on. Shibalanke, definitely a better hunter than he has been. Not quite strong yet, still has some bad matchups. His ultimate is extremely viable or valuable if you're using it properly. Solid pickup with the Death Toll now, being buffed. Just a good god. I like playing Shibalanke. One of my, like if I play ADC, I enjoy playing Shibalanke. He's gonna be one of my personal top picks. Xingten, safest support still. Doesn't bring the most to the table. Decent setup. Decent peel, okay damage, just a super safe support. Yamoja's been hit. She's been nerfed. Average and low level support players playing Yamoja should never happen. Never touch this god if you are not a support main who loves support and is very good at support. Just don't do it. She's also been nerfed in the ground, so it's going to put her in situational for me. I won't put her in poop yet. If you aren't a good support player, never ever play Yamoja, even if she gets buffed. Please. Ymir. Definitely situational. Anyone going around saying Ymir is strong, you're trolling. If you're a Ymir player on the enemy team, I'm going to kill you on cooldown. You have no mobility. You aren't that tanky. Your stun is on a long cooldown. And if I make you miss it or I beads it, you can't do anything. You have zero peel. Your walls are your best tool. That's one thing that everyone who picks Ymir, they're like, oh, I can stun, I can slow, I have this cool ult. It doesn't matter. Your wall is your best ability. So anyone who can leap your wall, you're completely worthless. You have to counterpick it into certain gods, and even then, that situation is trash. Chat is spamming, we love Zeus. In a chant. I hate you guys so much. All right. In low level, average ranked, even in a high ranked, do I do it? I think I do it. I think I'm finally there where I'm okay with putting Zeus in a strong. You have the best jungle clear that leads into lane clear by far. Nobody is competing with your clear. It's not happening. Period. It's not happening. Your clear is actually insane. You do not go Book of the Dead build, by the way. Book of the Dead build is trash. Forget about that crap. You're an ability-based mage that does an insane amount of damage, loves cooldown, loves high power, loves Ratatouille. That's how you play Zeus. They've made it so with the 2, you have some mobility, and your ability to navigate around a team fight is strong because you get 40% movement speed. You are not an auto attack god, but you get attack speed to build up massive burst on your 3. Your 1, 2, and 3 combo are going to heavily play off of each other. You are going to be a massive threat. And I'm going to be honest with you, any junglers diving a good Zeus are going to die in about, I want to say the same time they can kill a Zeus, but remember Zeus is always going to have his Aegis to buy him extra time. And he kills tanks. When you build him properly, he shreds tanks. So I'm okay with putting Zeus into strong because he actually creates pressure and is a threat in the mid lane. The only downside to Zeus is if you get stuck without a team and you're trying to solo rotate around, it's not going to work out well in your favor. You have to be with your team when you move. If you try to rotate by yourself, you will never, ever, ever survive. If an assassin meets you in the jungle around a corner, you walk into each other, you're dead. You will not get your damage off. It takes too long to build it up. You need to have some other person near you on your team. That is the only downside, and that is where bronze and silver, maybe even gold, will struggle playing Zeus in mid because you won't have teammates that understand that. So if you have a friend that you queue with, you should be good as long as you play around that friend. Otherwise, just watch out for that if you're playing him. And then Zhong Kui is situational. I've seen Zhong Kui do okay as a solo laner. I hate Zhong Kui in the mid lane. He just doesn't bring enough damage. You're playing a consistent damage mage in the mid lane where I can out damage you as an assassin in 2 seconds in the damage it takes you to do it in 10 seconds. Zeus is a sitting duck if you miss everything. Well, you can't really miss. Because if they dive you, you 2 yourself on Zeus and you won, and they just kind of die. Either you insta-kill them then and kite them around with that movement speed in your ult, or you Aegis and then you 3 and they should die, or you should trade. And that's the one thing with Zeus is you get off a lot of AoE damage, should allow your team to have solid team fights most of the time. My biggest thing with Zeus is the pressure he creates. Creates a lot of pressure. Super strong right now. There's the tier list. That is the full-blown tier list. Atlas, as I mentioned, I will put him in strong off the rip as a support only. And then I want to see the top really good support players, your pros, your support mains and masters, grandmasters, play him. And we'll see if he's broken or if he's just average. Because he feels really good as a pure support. Great peel, really good setup, super annoying god. But I don't know because his damage numbers are so low. A build I recommend on Zeus, the build that'll be on Smite Source tomorrow, because it'll be fully updated, hopefully right before stream tomorrow. Mannequins or Bumbas on Kama? Don't go mannequins, go Bumbas. How do I... hey, what are you in here? I don't want to press the wrong button. This is the first tier list I will have created on Smite Source. So I click create tier list. Is this the button? Okay. Woody created the website, so he knows. There it is, our beautiful Atlas 8.12 tier list. This patch hits on Tuesday, so this is 3 days early, or 2 days early. And here it is. So when you guys see this YouTube video, if you do watch it on YouTube, this will be right on the website by then.